Okay. I think we can start. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, we're going to start. This is the second Sicha of this Parshas Shemos, in Chelik Yud Al Apostle Shlachna B'Yatishla. By the snare, by the burning bush, when the Eibishter revealed himself to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he told Moshe Rabbeinu, asked Moshe Rabbeinu, told him to go to Parei, to Mitzrayim, tell them to let it out, etc., etc. So Moshe Rabbeinu said to the Eibishter, Shlachno B'Yatishla. Send with the one you're going to send. Now, simple Taich means, don't send with me, send with somebody else. But the literal translation is, send, Shlachno, please send, B'Yatish, or the one that you are going to send. So Isa b'Medesh says in Medesh Omar, Moshe Rabbeinu said, the Fonov, to him, he said like this, Rabbeinu Shalom, Shlachna b'yad tishlach, send with whom you're going to send, meaning b'yad Mashiach. Shahu osid legalis. The Golis, he's going to reveal himself. Mashiach is going to take the Yidden out of Golis later on. He's going to reveal himself and take him out. So send him now also. So that's the Taish, the word b'yad tishlach, not just send somebody else. Send the one you're going to send later. The one you're going to send. On the Bakashos Shel Moshe Lein is Kabbalah, Moshe's request did not, Hashem did not accept it. The Eibishter wanted Shadafka Moshe Yashliach Leitzid as Bnei Yisrael Mitzrayim. The Eibishter wanted that Moshe Rabbeinu should be the Shliach to take the Yidden out of Mitzrayim. Now, Medivra Medrash, moving from the words of the Medrash, we understand Sheyesh Nashayches Miyechedes and Moshe and Mashiach. There is a connection between Moshe and Mashiach. Hashem Mishum Zeh. Therefore, Bikash Moshe asked. The shlichus that he should be taking the Yidden out of Mitzrayim, shahut lo olav that was put on him to Moshe b'yad Mashiach should be given to Mashiach. If Mashiach and Moshe have no connection, then how could Moshe say, send Mashiach? The Eibishter wants him, not Mashiach. But the fact that he said it is a siman that they have a connection. Therefore, it was possible for him to say, you know what, not me, somebody else who's similar, who has a connection. They have a connection. But Lamaisa B'Peil, it had the Gula from Mitzrayim had to be through Moshe, and in Yonah Shel Mashiach Hodafki Gelosa Shel Yisrael Yigalusa Nachrim. And Mashiach Inyan is to take the Yidden out of this last Golas. But there is a connection between Moshe and Mashiach. The Hinei the Rebbe says, Teichna Shel Shaycha Zusha Moshe and Mashiach, the meaning Teichen of this connection between Moshe and Mashiach, Shemipnei Zeh Bo Hatzad HaShove Shebetafkideim Legal as Bnei Yisrael Megalusum, because there is a shaykhis, that's why there is a common denominator in their mission. They both have the same mission of taking Yidden out of Golas, because there is a connection. The teichen of this connection between Moshe and Mashiach of taking Yidden out of Golas is moving will be more understood of B'Maimer Hazal based on the Chazal that they say in Medrash Rabbah, Moshe hu geil rishon, hu geil achren. Moshe is the first redeemer, and Moshe is the last redeemer. So right away, before we even get to understand the pshat, we see a connection. We see Moshe is the last redeemer, which is Mashiach. So there's a connection. But what does it mean that Moshe is the last redeemer? You can't, it doesn't mean that Moshe himself physically will be the last redeemer, which would mean, if it would mean physically, you know what it would mean? That Moshe Rabbeinu is going to get up Tchias HaMeisim, and he'll take Yidden out of Golas. Moshe is going to be Mashiach. But you can't say that. Why? Sharei Moshe Meshevet Levi. Moshe comes from Shevet Levi. Mashiach Yamid from Beis David. Mashiach from Beis David. Shevet Yehuda from Beis David. Shevet Yehuda. So what does it mean? Moshe is the Geil Rish and the Geil Achren. Pirush Shemeshe Hu Geil Rishon Moshe Shahu, which is the first redeemer. Hu Shebekeiche Ve'al Yode Yove Mashiach HaGeil Achren. It's through the Keach of Moshe that Mashiach will come. This all fits to what we said before. Moshe and Mashiach have a connection. That's why it's through Moshe that Mashiach will be able to bring the Gula. What does that mean? Why will the Gula through Mashiach? How do we say that? It means Moshe, it's the Keich of Moshe. The beer is like this. The first and main mile of Mashiach is Torah. The Rambam, when he says in Hilchos Malachim, he describes Mashiach, what he's going to be. The first thing he says, he'll be a melech, which is Heige b'Torah, learns a lot of Torah. So Moshe Rabbeinu represents Torah. That Mashiach is the first is Torah. Behind the Shekeiche Zeh Li is Geil Alon Shel Yisrael, this Keach, that Mashiach will be able to be the redeemer of the Yidden who are Yidei HaTorah, through Torah. That's why when the Rambam describes him, the first mile of Mashiach is Torah. Shehi Teiras Moshe. The Torah has a shaykhs to Moshe. In a posik in Malachi, the Torah is called Teiras Moshe. The Gemara asks, how do we call it Teiras Moshe? It's not Teiras Moshe. It's Teiras Hashem. And the Gemara answers, because Moshe was Mesa Nefesh on Torah, it's called Teiras Moshe. But the bottom line is, the inyan of Moshe is Torah. So B'meile, since the Keach of Mashiach to the Geil the Eden is through Torah, that means through Moshe. So the Keach of Mashiach is Moshe. So that's when the Geil Mashiach himself, the Keach of the Eden to bring the Gula, Ale Avidosam Heim through their Aveda, is also Ayadei Torah. Moshe is Boy Lakama. The Rebbe is going to explain that the whole way we could bring Mashiach is through Torah, which is through Moshe. And that again is the connection between Moshe and Mashiach. This Pnim is the connection between Moshe and Mashiach, or Mashiach and Moshe. The Ramez is also hinted in this, Shabias Mashiach Nikras Yovei Shilei. In Posig, it says Atki Yovei Shilei, which means till Mashiach will come. So the coming of Mashiach is referred to in Posig as Yovei Shilei. And Yovei Shilei begematria Mashiach. That's what the Balaturim says. Yovei Shilei, the two Yovei is 13, and Shilei is 345. Mashiach is 358. So Yovei Shilei is the Gematria Mashiach. Shilei is the Gematria Moshe. It's interesting. Shilei itself is Gematria Moshe. So Yovei Shilei Gematria Mashiach. And that fits to what we said before. Because Mashiach will come because of Moshe. We said because of the Torah of Moshe. Mashiach will come because of Moshe. That's why Yovei Shilei is the Gematria Moshe. Yovei Shilei, and Shilei also means Mashiach. Yovei Shilei, he will come through Moshe. Ki Yovei Shilei hainu giluy of shel Mashiach u'b'yoseh b'peil. Yovei Shilei means Shilei, Mashiach will come, which means like this. He is there before. When we say Shilei will come, means there is a Shilei, and he will come to take us out of Golus. That means that before he takes us out, what Kayach is he going to have? Which means the Kayach to take us out means that's before. What will bring, something that's there before will bring to take us out, is Torah, which is Moshe. Yeshilei b'gematria Moshe hainu, zeh shekvar yesh nekedem liyovei, hakeyach al b'yoseh shel Mashiach. This that there is, before Mashiach will come, there is something. When we say this is the Kayach to bring something else, that Kayach is there, and that Kayach will bring. So here there is something that will bring. Yovei Shilei, so Shilei is there before, and that will bring it. What will bring Mashiach? That's Moshe. That means that the Kayach of the Yosef Shel Mashiach, this all shows the connection between Moshe and Mashiach. And the connection is that Moshe represents Torah, and Mashiach will come, the Kayach HaTorah of Moshe Rabbeinu. And also the Yidden, what Aveda will they have to do in order to Mashiach to come? Also is Torah. So that's the connection Moshe and Mashiach. Hine Yedua, we know Sicha of Kedushas Meru Chamiyad Mudah, the Sicha of the Friedrich Rebbe. In Acham Spetzach Tofrei Sadik Pes, he says there, Sheyovei, the word Yovei of this two words, Yovei Shilei, is the Gematria Echot. Yovei is Echot. So according to that means like this, Moshe Betzirut Echot, since Moshe is a Gematria Shilei, Shilei the Gematria Moshe. So what's the pshat? Yovei Shilei. Yovei Shilei is the Gematria Mashiach. Shilei the Gematria Moshe. Yovei is the Gematria Echot. That means that Moshe Betzirut Echot, the Gematria Mashiach. That Shilei, which is the Gematria Moshe, together with Yovei, which is the Gematria Echot, but that is the Gematria Mashiach. So as if we're saying, Yovei is 13, Echot. Yovei is 10, 2 and 1, it's 13. Echot is the Gematria 13. So Yovei, Shilei, Echot, plus Shilei, which is Moshe, Shilei Gematria Moshe, equals Mashiach. That means that Yovei, Echot, and Moshe is going to bring Mashiach. The coming of Mashiach b'peil Yovei, Yiyal the Aveda be'efin shel Echot. Since Yovei is the Gematria, Echot means, and that's what's going to bring Mashiach. The word Yovei means bringing. Echot is going to bring Mashiach. And the Keach to do this Aveda of Echot, Nitan Lonim Moshe came from Moshe, as the Rebbe will explain. The Locha Moshe, which is the Sinas Keach al Aveda Zu, Betziruf Echot, Moshe, which gives the Keach to Echot. We don't know yet what it means. But Moshe gives the Keach to Echot. So Moshe, Shilei b'gematria Moshe, and Yovei, which is Echot. So Moshe, with Tziruf Echot, which is the Aveda, is Echot, the Gematria Mashiach. So the Aveda is Echot, that will bring Mashiach together with Moshe, because Moshe gives the Koyach HaNechot, and that is the Gematria Mashiach, and that will bring Mashiach. This is Gematrias, and we know Gematrias are very fine, but Gematrias, the Rebbe said this many times. Gematrias, you can't just find two words at the same Gematria. Oh, there's the same meaning. That's not true. You have to see that there's a connection between them anyway. And the Gematria is a remes for the Indian. The Rebbe quotes it from the Shemer Amunim for Rabbi Yosef Irgis, who writes that. You can't just make Gematrias. So here the Rebbe is going to explain the connection. And now, when we look back at the Gematria, the Gematria is Merames for this Indian. And the Echot plus Moshe.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, Sabrina, I'm going to give you a call.
No problem.
Okay.
Please, everyone mute. Habir Bezeh, what is the pshat here that Echod with Moshe giving the Keich of Echod will bring Mashiach. Omer Azal, Elam HaMeluyah Nibra. The Azal say that the world was created full. So Poshet Pshat, full means that everything was already in a full stage. Loashal, when Adam Rishon was created, he was a second old, but he wasn't created a baby of a second. He was created, it says, looked like a person. If someone would look at him in theory, would say, oh, he's at least 20 years old. He was full. Same thing, the Eibishter behemoths. He didn't create a little tiny thing. He had chickens, didn't create eggs, he created everything in full. That's the Poshet Pshat. But Chassidus says that means Beruchnius also. When the world was created, everything in the world was bishleimus, was complete, was good, complete Beruchnius. Afterwards, with the Chet Tzadas, Shabo Nochash al Chavo, and it said by the Chet Tzadas, Nochash had relations with Chavo, Hikel Bazuama, put a tumah, an impurity into Chavo, and Yorat Ha'odam V'O'elim Mishlemusam Imalosim. That's when, by the time of the Chet Tzadas, then the world had a Yerida, descent in the Tzruchnisdike level, a descent, side the human being, and side the world in Bechlau. Adas Man de Matan Torah. So the world was in a Yerida from Eitzadas till Matan Torah. Then they had an aliyah back. They left the Yeridit, the descent, and they went up. And because the Gemara says, Yisrael Shom Dal Harsina Poskus Amosam, the Zuam and the Tumah that came because of the Chet Tzadas left by Matan Torah. So Matan Torah that left. The Shuv Bo Yerida Achakach, then again happened the Yerida after Matan Torah, the Chet Egel. And even the Chet Oz Chozer Amosam. The Gemara says that the Tumah came back. And Adayin Iba'ilam, that Tumah is still in the world. Ad Beya Gula Asida, till the Mashiach will come, the Gula Asida. Then David will fulfill his promise. I'll take away the Tumah from the world. Then the Tumah will be bottled, will completely nullified. Rebbe uses three lashonos here. We're not getting into the lumdas. It'll be nisbarer, and it'll be purified, and it'll be elevated. Betachlis habirur hazichach v'aliyah. Betachlis and all the birur and zichach v'aliyah will be complete. So we have it like this: you have a high madrege before the chet. The world was created high madrege, went down to the chet, went up again by the Matan Torah, and went down again the chet egel. When will go up again, when Mashiach will come. Hine yedua we know asher yidit tzerich aliyah. When anytime there's a yerida in the world, the madreges, the purpose is that through the yerida you should have an aliyah. Behind it, what does it mean that through this descent you should have an aliyah? Shekol tachlisa shalai yerida memadrega akidemes v'tzerich aliyah abol yoda. The whole purpose, why is there a yerida? In order to be able to get to a higher aliyah. Now, if the whole purpose of the yerida is to get to an aliyah, how they move them, it's understood. We have to say sha'aliyah sha'achra yerida yesh be'aliyah l'gabahilu shoyikedim yerida is going to be higher than it was before. The Moshe, when the aliyah came, there was a Yerida after Eitzadas, and then came an Aliyah, a Matan Torah. The whole purpose of the Yerida after Eitzadas is in order to get to an Aliyah. Now, if the Aliyah that comes afterwards is just as good as it was before the Yerida, what's the purpose? Must be that it's even to go higher. That there is a Madrege Ilui, a high Madrege. There is a Yerida that because of this Yerida, when you get the Aliyah, you'll become higher than before. So the Yerida was worth it for that reason. Or movement. So from that we understand that the aliyah that happened by Matan Torah, that came after the Yerida from Chet Tzadas, is higher, and it was the high madregi before Chet Tzadas. Because if it would be the same way as it was before, what's the purpose? What we gain? So it must be that through the Yerida of the Chet Tzadas, he got an aliyah by Matan Torah, which then it was higher than before. And the same thing obviously will be in the next aliyah, because after Matan Torah was again a Yerida, Chet Egel. And then there will be an aliyah when Mashiach will come. So that's going to be higher. Legabe aliyah the Matan Torah sheketem Chet Egel. Legabe the way it was before the Chet Egel. That's what you have to say. So that explains more details in this Likkutei. My losa shel aliyah zu shel achar hayirida legabe ma'ila kedemis. When we said that the aliyah, the second aliyah, is not only it will come back to the way it was before the Yerida, but it will be higher than before. The will be more understood. It's more that we'll see that it's in both pratim. Hen mitzad amshocha sein and sov baruch u'melmayla lamata. Hen mitzad ha'isalusam shel bnei Yisrael ve'elam milmata lamayla. You know there are two things about the matzav of the world. The ruchnisdik gilui lakus in the world. There's two inyanim. There's a gilui milmayla. The Eibishter brings Eirei Sof into the world. Mikala lakus in the world. That's the real aliyah that we're looking for. There's another prat. The world has an aliyah. And everything goes these two ways. And see, this we always learn. There's aliyah, there's mamayla lamata, mamata lamayla. So mamayla lamata is the gilui lakus that comes from the Eibishter mamayla. And there is a aliyah that the world elevates itself to a higher madrege. So the aliyah that happened after the Yerida, in both cases, the aliyah of Matan Torah after the Yerida of the Chet Tzadas, and the aliyah of L'osid Love after the Chet Egel, is going to be higher than before from both perspectives. Say in how much the Eibishter gives to the world. So by the aliyah that came after the Yerida, the Eibishter will give more Gilui Lakus than it was before, the first time before the Yerida. And also mitzad the world elevating itself, also in the aliyah that comes after the Yerida will be higher than it was before. And he explains himself. Let's give the first one. After the first Yerida, there was an aliyah by Matan Torah. Before Matan Torah, there was also a keach to do mitzvahs. Loshna Rambam, the Rambam says, Shal Shisho Dvorim Nitztava Odom Rishon. Odom Rishon was commanded by the Eibishter for 6 mitzvahs. And the Rambam brings the psukim. V'heisiv l'neyach Eiver Menachai, Neyach got another one, Eiver Menachai. For Avram, and Nitztava Yeser Aleilu. To Avram, he gave more mitzvahs. And then came Yitzchok and Yaakov, Heisiv, all these things. So we see there were mitzvahs before Matan Torah. So the Eibishter gave a keach for mitzvahs. V'omr Chazal, the Chazal also say, the Oves Kimu Kol HaTorah Kula Achel Nitna. The Oves kept all the mitzvahs. So there was a concept of mitzvahs before Matan Torah. Im Kol Zeh, still, Hare Dafki be Matan Torah, in this Kaddish Matan Torah came something that wasn't there before. There was a chidush, something new. Besides the fact that the mitzvahs themselves have a special keach and the mitzvahs themselves are different and special. There's something, a new inyan that happened by Matan Torah that wasn't there before, that the Eibishter chose the Eden. The Eibishter chose the Eden. How do we know it happened by Matan Torah? We know that, but the Rebbe in Ha'orah 22 brings the Shulchan Aruch. The Alter Rebbe says when you say before Krishma in the morning, you say Vona V'charta Kalam B'loshin, so we have to memchaben Vona V'charta by Matan Torah. So by Matan Torah something new happened. And that is something that is Habo Me'atzmusa Yizborech Shalamayla Mikol Eir V'gilui. It comes from Atzmus of the Eibishter. Higher than any Gilui and is Galakei the Matan Torah that came before Matan Torah. So the Rebbe is trying to show here is by Matan Torah something happened that wasn't there before. I think, and I can't say for sure, that the main kvetch in this paragraph is when he says, look at the fourth line, that Matan Torah is higher than the mitzvahs that were given before, and there are 6 mitzvahs given to Odom Rishon. I'll tell you what I mean. The Rebbe is trying to show here, not just that Matan Torah happened, that it made it higher than before Matan Torah. Avada, everyone knows that Matan Torah, Lagabi before Matan Torah is higher. But he's trying to show that by Matan Torah it's higher even than before the Chet Tzadas. That's the whole point of the word here, that the Aliyah, the second Aliyah that came after the Yerida is higher than it was before the Yerida. So by saying that, Rebbe says here that before Matan Torah there was no Bechira, even though there were mitzvahs. Matan Torah had Bechira. How does that show that it was higher than before the Chet Tzadas? It shows it's higher by Matan Torah than before Matan Torah. That's why I'm saying probably the main kvetch is the 6 mitzvahs that Odom Rishon was commanded. And the 6 mitzvahs that Odom Rishon was commanded was before the Chet Tzadas. Look in the Gemara. It says by Tzav Hashem Elokim, the Eibusher told Adam Rishon, you could eat all the trees from the Gan Eden, but you can't eat one tree, Eitz Hadas. So the Gemara darshans that posik to tell us how this posik teaches us that Adam Rishon was commanded 6 mitzvahs. And that was all before the Chet Eitz Hadas. That's the main kvetcher, I assume. So we see that not only by Matan Torah it came back to the same way it was before the Yerida, before the Chet Eitz Hadas. By Matan Torah, something happened that was not even there by the before the Chet Eitz Hadas. So that shows that the Aliyah by Matan Torah is higher than there was before the Yerida. And from which side? From the perspective of what the Eibusher did. Because the Rebbe says here that it's from both perspectives. Sai what the Eibusher Mamayla Lamata gives, Sai the Welt raised itself Lamata Lamayla. So this is Mamayla Lamata, what the Eibusher did. The Eibusher gave before the Chet Eitz Hadas, he gave him mitzvahs, which is fine, a very high madrege. Came now, he gave him much more. So after the Yerida came an Aliyah Mamayla Lamata. The same thing got at the level of the people and the world. That by Matan Torah, their Aliyah was much higher than before the Chet Eitz Hadas. How do we see it? How do we see that Aliyah of Matan Torah, the Birur of the Welt, was higher than before the Chet? Very simple. Because it says that, we said before, that after, by the Chet Egel, the Tumah came back. But, this Tumah was not the same way it was before. Which means that even though there was a Tumah, came back by the Chet Egel, but Matan Torah paled so much that you could never go back to make a complete Tumah. So that shows that Matan Torah, Mitzad the Welt, reached a higher madrege than before the Chet Eitz Hadas. Before the Chet Eitz Hadas, there was a possibility to bring pure Tumah into the world. By Matan Torah caused an Aliyah, and now you can't bring real Tumah into the world. Abyssal, Chosro, Tumah came back, but not completely. Because this fact, the Matan Torah, the Tumah of the world left, and it was higher madregim higher than it was before the Chet Hadas. The pool of Matan Torah came into the Welt, penetrated into the world more than the Likkutei was there before the Chet Hadas. That's why even after the Chet Egel, which is a Yerida after Matan Torah, the Yerida wasn't that big. Why wasn't the Yerida that big? Because Matan Torah had more Kayach, more Dirur, than before the Chet Hadas, than the beginning of the world. So here the Rebbe explains from two sides. Simon Milo came a Gili Ed into the world of Matan Torah, which was higher, which came after the Yerida of the Chet Hadas, but it's higher than it was before in the beginning. And Simon Milo Lamata, what the Eibusher did, inside the Welt's Birur was also higher than before. So that's been the Aliyah that came after the first Yerida. The same thing, the Aliyah that will happen in the second Aliyah, which will come after the second Yerida. The second Yerida is the Chet Egel, and that brought the world down again. When will it go back? By Mashiach. It'll go back more than by Matan Torah even. Mashiach Torah is called Yisrael Kula. Mashiach is going to teach all the Eden Torah. It'll be Teirose Shel Mashiach. The Dugmas Aliyah Shel Matan Torah. This is similar, just like the Aliyah Matan Torah, something that wasn't there before. Wasn't there even before the Chet Hadas. But Mashiach will be something that wasn't even there by Matan Torah. Shegam bo Mailok Deilav Yisera Aliyah Shel Matan Torah. This is higher than the Aliyah by Matan Torah, which the world was that there was an Aliyah there, but this is going to be higher. And here also the two inyonim. We said the Aliyah of Matan Torah Lagabi before the Chet Hadas is in two inyonim. In the way the Gilui was Mamaylo, the higher Gilui, and the Birur and the Aliyah of Welt was a higher level. The same thing here. Mashiach will come, both inyonim will happen. Side the Gilui Lakus Mamaylo, Madregos Shabbanei Yisrael, side the level of Eden down here. In both ways, it's going to be more than it was by Matan Torah. And the Rebbe explains in which way do we see it. They say it like this. It says in Tanya, even though Matan Torah, the Eden Poshet saw a Likus, the Kolze, it's only a me'ain, a little bit, a taste, a little bit of the way it's going to be Losid Lovi, which means that Losid Lovi will be much more. Harei Muvim is there, from that we see, the Gilui Lakus, that Eibush said, I will, the revelation of the Kovod of Hashem, which is the Gilui Ein Sof Baruch Hoshiyah Losid Love, the Gilui of Hashem Losid Love, Hunai LeYesim Ibchinis Gilui HaLakus Shabbat Matan Torah. It's higher than the Gilui Matan Torah. So here we see, in the first thing, the Gilui L'mayla Lamato, that the Ilui that will be Losid Love after the Yerida of the Chet HaEgel will be more than it was before that Yerida of Matan Torah. That's when the Gilui L'mayla. The Gam the Gilui Matan Goshen Shabbat Yisrael Ve'elam, also the Gam the Madreg of the Yidden, the Welt, the people. Losid Love Yekuyim Hashekosov Estruach Hatume Avim Min HaOretz. When Mashiach will come, there will be taken away from the world completely. Bila Amovis Lanetzach. Movis death, which is klippe, will be swallowed away completely. Hainu, what does that mean? I would do something, I would skip the brackets for a moment and go straight after the bracket and then come back. Hainu, what it means is, she'inyan atume v'azuma yuver lagamre. There will be no more tume. Losid love will be no more tume. And that's going to be more than by Matan Torah. V'hainu sho'elum atzme mitzad inyonehu. The world, as it is a mitzias of a world, Yizbarer v'yizdachek will be purified. V'lochen gam agilu v'aliyah sheyova al dezeh yizgala v'yachter v'elam eifan shal nit netzach. The lakus, the level of the Yidden will be that there will be a lakus in them, and they'll be nizbarer in such a way that they'll never change. See, the first time when the Yidden would lift, got an aliyah, which was a Matan Torah, it didn't penetrate completely. V'horayah, Tumah came back. Even the Matan Torah, the Tumah left. And the way the Rebbe says here, he doesn't go into Taichun Kuis, but he says it clearly, just doesn't Taichun Beprotius. The reason why Taki will also love it be like that, and why was it not by Matan Torah? Posha, by Matan Torah, it was more, it came Milmaila. There was a Gilui Milmaila that came, even though the Welt is Klippa, the Welt is a Helaman Alakus, came a Gilui Milmaila and brought Alakus into the Welt. That means basically, as almost as if we're saying, that the Lakus was fighting with the Welt and overcame the Welt. Then, if it comes Mamaila, if for some reason it wears off, it comes back the way it was before. Mashenke Losid Love, the Welt mitzad Atzma, as part of the Welt, as the Welt is a Welt, will have a bitter. The Mela, that will change the whole mus of the Welt. But that can never change because now there's a new Welt, a Welt that is mitzad the mitzias of the Welt as it is inyan of a lakus. And that's what will be lo netzach. So here we see that the madrege of the Yidden of the Welt, Losid Love, will be much higher, besides the Gilui that will come a mile. From the bitter of the Welt, will be much more than a Matan Torah. But in the brackets, the Rebbe says, that means that it wasn't like Meishoya Matan Torah, Shirak Poskos Amosim. See, by Matan Torah, all that happened, Poskos Amosim. It says, by Chetei Tzadas, the Tumah came, then Posko. Poskos Amosim doesn't mean that there is no more possibility of tumah. Posca means it left it. But it's still possible to come back. As it actually was. The brought it back. Here the Rebbe Taiches, he says it clearly, but it doesn't Taiches with complete words, because the Zichuch in Welt didn't come from Welt itself. Because it came a Maila. Therefore, when the shofar was blown, and it says that there's a siman for siluk shchina, the shchina left. When this gilui left, came back because it wasn't really changed. As we said, we learned before, that will change. So we see that the ilui that's going to happen, the aliyah losid love, will be higher than it was by Matan Torah. And Matan Torah was higher than it was before the Chetei Tzadas. Now, how does that happen? How does it happen that the aliyah later is bigger than before through the yerida? That's like yerida, tzayirach aliyah. Because there was a yerida, so when you go up after the yerida, you go up higher than you were before. That's what we said before. So he says, "V'hinei mizesh dafke la'achar yerida hu aliyah anayil b'yeser." Since we're saying that when is this higher aliyah, the second aliyah higher? Only because there was after a yerida. That we have to say that it's not only because in order to get higher, you have to have a yerida. I'll give an example. They say that the Rebbe, when someone has yichidus, and the Rebbe told him the concept of yerida tzayirach aliyah, he gave him a mashal. That's what they say. I don't know if it's true. That's what they said always. The Rebbe got up from his chair and he said to the guy, "You see, if I want to go further over there across. The only way I could get across if I jump over this desk. But in order to jump over this desk, I have to go further away. I have to go back, and then I can jump. So he showed him, that's the pshat. In order to get an aliyah, you have to have a yerida first. Could be. But the Rebbe says, so it's not just because it's mukhrach. You have to have an aliyah. In order to have an aliyah, you have to have a yerida before. But it's more than that. Because through working in the level of the yerida, that's how you get the aliyah. So it's not just because there has to be a yerida before. There has to be an aveda in the level of the yerida, in the point of the yerida, and that will bring you the aliyah. And it'll bring an aliyah greater than before. And he gives it, where do we see that? That it's through the aveda in the yerida. What brought that by Matan Torah there was an aliyah? Went more than before. What basically brought Matan Torah? My service. The others were there. They were in Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim is called Kura Barzel in the Posik. Kura Barzel means it's a furnace where you melt metal. What's the purpose of a furnace melting metal? When you dig metal out of the mountain, it's mixed with dirt, and you got to purify it. So you got to put it into this kiln. So you see it, Mitzrayim is called Kura Barzel. Shehem and Sheikhinus Bnei Yisrael Ba'elam. This, the Oves and Mitzrayim and all these things prepared the world, the people, the Eden and the world, should be able to receive the Gilui Matan Torah. So it came the Gilui, the Ilui of Matan Torah that was higher than before the Chet HaSadas, came because of the Yerida, but it's not Stam, because if you have a Yerida, after that you go higher. You have to do Aveda. They did Aveda in the Yerida. The same thing with the next level. The Aliyah of Losid Love, after the Yerida, of the Chet Egel, etc., it's not Stam because there was a Yerida, because we have to have an Aveda. And this is a lotion of Tanya. Through our Maisim and our Aveda during the whole time of Golas, the bitter by purifying the world. If we work on making the world itself, mitzad the inyan of the world, to make it mavurer, to make it purified, that will bring the Gula Asida. So it's the Yerida that brings the special aliyah that's greater than the level before. But it's the Aveda that we have to do there. What is the Aveda? So now all we got to is that in order to have the Gilui, great Gilui that will be Lasid Love in all aspects, has to come through the Aveda in the Yerida. What is the Aveda? So here the Rebbe is going to explain what is the Aveda in the Yerida, throughout from after the Chet Egel till this our Aveda will bring the great Ilui of Lasid Love. So this will be understood based on a famous kasha. The kasha on the most famous posik where it says, Shema Yisrael Havai Elokeinu Havai Echad. We say, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, Hashem is one. The kasha on this posik is, what we're trying to say is that there's nothing but the Eibush, that He's the only thing. Hashem Yochid, which is Hashem is single. Because Kemilas Echad, the word Echad, Echad one doesn't really show on the true unity of Hashem, and the true oneness of Hashem. There's sometimes Echad, when you say Echad, doesn't mean there isn't a second. You're counting. One, it's the beginning of a count. A count, then two, then three. One doesn't mean there is no two. You could count one and then there's a second. That's why it says, Yesh Echad v'ein sheni. It says in Napasi, there He's one, but there's no sheni. Why do we have to add the words v'ein sheni? The word Echad itself doesn't exclude, shouldn't be a second. When you speak about a child, if you say he's one son, doesn't mean he doesn't have a second son. When you say he's a ben yochid, means he's the only child, only son. Yochid is shalel, excludes to say that there is a second one. Yochid means single, so should have said Hashem Yochid. The answer why it says Hashem Echad, not Yochid, the problem we had with the word Yochid, why it says Echad, that is the reason why it says it. As we said, Echad makes a possibility of another one. That's what we're trying to say. Tachlis v'amitis achdusa shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the real tachlis and the real unity and oneness of Hashem. It's not really when you say there's nothing else. There's nothing else. Yochid, Eibush is the only thing. There's nothing else. That's not the real Achdas Hashem. Kiyim dafke kashe yeshnu metzia shel Elam. Dafke, when you say there is a Welt, there is a Metzias of a Welt. And you feel that the Welt is not a Metzias. That shows the real Agnes of a Eibishter. Because if there's nothing else, if there's only one thing and nothing else, it's one. But know what that means? The Rebbe doesn't say these words, I'm just adding. If you say there's nothing else, there's only the Eibishter, fine. But know what it means? It means that Il Yitzura would be something else. Oh, they just push it. The Poel, there's nothing else, so he's the only Metzias. But if it be something else, it'd be something else. We're saying there is something that seems like it's something else. There is a Welt, and when thinking there is a Welt, you realize that the Welt is nicht gewelt. The Welt is only the expression of the Eibishter's will. V'zehu inyan echad. Echad means shegam k'sheyeshnem lemetzias shaleilam, even though there is a Metzias of Welt. Yikoma k'miyuchad hu imei yizborich v'tachlis hayichud. It's one with Eibishter. In other words, it's not separate in David. That's the Chiddush. That's what the Rebbe always speaks, the Mila of 3. That why was Matan Torah in the 3rd month? And the Gemara says that there's a big Mila, that the Torah is 3, and the 3rd month, and what was given by Moshe was the 3rd, but the 3. So it wasn't Mila 3. So the Rebbe says, Salderech, like we say, if you have Shnei Ksubim, Akrishan says, 2 Psukim contradict, Yovi Akoshev Ashlishi, comes the 3rd pasuk and shows how they're really one. To say, 1 shows Achdus, true. 2 shows Pirut, there's a second Metzias. 3 shows a highest level of Achdus, that even though you think there is a 3rd, you start realizing that you think there's another Metzias, really that other Metzias is not really a Metzias for itself. That Metzias is bottled. In sometimes in Sicha, it says, imagine if you would say Hashem Yochid. The guy sits in shul and closes his eyes and says, Hashem Yochid, nothing in the Welt. Finishes davening, goes out into the street. Oh, is da Welt? A grace of Welt. He goes to work. I got some ice at the Welt. It's a contradiction. But if you say Hashem Echad, you're saying, I noticed the Welt. I noticed that big Welt out there. And that Welt is no Welt. That's what we see in Echad. It's hinted in the 3 letters, Aleph, Ches, Dalet. Echad. Dalet, it says in Shulchan Aruch. That's what you have to think when you say Hashem Echad. Dalet is 4. Represents Dalet, the Ruch the 4 corners, the 4 sides of the world. Ches is 8. Zayir, Rekim, Va'aretz. It's the 7 heavens and earth, which is B'chlolas, Mailamat, up and down. The Aleph is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Deibishter, Aluf is Shaleilam. He's the Aleph of the world. Alufim is the boss of the world. And Va'pirish, Milas Echad, what's the Pshat? The word Echad, Shetzrichim Lahamshich Ulegalis Elakusa is Baruch. We have to bring Elakus of Deibishter, the Agdas of Deibishter, Hanirmes Be'ez Aleph, which is hinted in the Aleph. You have to bring it Bo'elam into the world, Hanirmes Be'ez Ches V'Dalet, which is hinted in the Ches V'Dalet, the Rekim, heavens and the earth, the whole universe. To show Shagam Ba'elam, even in the world, Loshen, which is the world Elam, also is Loshen Helam V'Hestek, from concealment, Kefi Shehu B'Mitziyus B'Gdor of Hu, it's in his own Gdor, it is a Welt. Yurge Shekol Mitziyus Yaluk Shaleim. You have to feel that the Mitzias of the Welt is nothing but the Eibishter, nothing but an expression of the Eibishter's will. It's hinted in another prat, the Aleph of this word Echad, which hints on the Eibishter, Hiarishena, is the first letter of the word. And we know it's Rabbi in 44 brings Shari Yichud Vamun. It says the first letter of a word contains the whole word, and that all the other letters of the word are bottled to that. So here, the other letters, which are the Ches and the Dalet, Harem Zeis Al Metzias Salem, represent the world, are all bottled to the Aleph. That's why we say Echad. Okay. So now we understand why we say Echad, not Yechad. But there's a question here. How can the world, which is how is it a vessel to receive, not only to receive, but to reveal? It should reveal the whole Metzias Welt is the high Deibish, the concealed Deibish. And now we're saying we want to, Echad shows that the Welt, as the Welt is a Welt, which is a Helem, that nevertheless is Megala Lukus. How could it be? That's what David did by Matan Torah. He gave Torah mitzvahs to the Yidden, that they will be Mavarer and Mezachel the world. The Yasuhul, Direle is brought up the thing. Yes, through Torah we could do it. That's the answer. Okay. So it's Torah that gives us the power of being Megala Lakus in the world, that the world, what will happen when Mashiach will come, he said, if Mashiach will come, there'll be Gili in the world, not as a Gili Mamayla, but the Welt, as a Welt will be revealing the Lakus. We have Torah, and the Torah is the way to do it. When we say now that the Torah, when was the Torah given? By Matan Torah. That's when we got the Keach to be Mavara the world. Hainu, it means like this. It's not only the David gave us the tools. So far it seems, by Matan Torah, David gave us the Torah. Giving the Torah means he gave us the tools. The tools how we can bring a Lakus into the Welt. That the Helam of the Welt itself should be Megala Lakus. Fine. But it's more than that. The etzem of the way what things happen by Matan Torah, and how much of the kus was nisgale by Matan Torah, b'shas ma'ase at that moment, that gave the keach ach Matan Torah. And I think before I even going to say what says further, I'm going to say it first outside. There was something that happened by Matan Torah, which is not echad. By Matan Torah was the level of yochid. Matan Torah, the ganze Welt, the whole world was bottled. No more Messias of the Welt. There was no Welt. I mean, there was a Gashvizike Welt, but everything was bottled to a Lakus at that moment. And that stopped. After Matan Torah, that stopped. But that inyan, that by Matan Torah there was such a gilui of Bitlo Elam, gave the boost that now when the world is back to normal, we should have the Keach to bring a Lakus in Welt. That's the injection that was given into the Welt. And I'll see, read it inside. The world was bottled completely by Matan Torah, the great Gil Mamayla. The bittul was felt in the world. As the Chazal say, a bird didn't make noise. A cow didn't make noise. The world was quiet. The world itself was not able, as a Welt, to be a Kele to receive such a great bittul. But action is battle the world, in order to have this bittul, was bottled. Can't be a Welt and still have the Gilui Lakus. It's not a Kele. It was only in this battle, there was a Gilui Mamayla. And it was only by Matan Torah, but by Matan Torah the world had a bittul, which this bittul of the world is similar to the level of Yochid. But that only lasted for a short while, because the world, David wanted there should be a world. Then the world was in his battle. So that was only a temporary thing. But in a bittul zeh b'shas Matan Torah, this bittul that the world had by Matan Torah, that gave the keach that the world should, after that, when the world is a normal world, could be nisbared and nizdachach and nisalas, use the same three lashenis all the way through. Again, someone who wants to say Pulim Peter, Zichuch, and Ilu, whenever. So the world should be able to be nisbared and nizdachach achakach achi a kela b'dir but the world should become a kela. Like this, the world as a helam can be a kela tilakus. So when the Eibishter pushed and made the world completely bottled, and then took it back, it gave a boost. And now the world already is able to take. I'm saying my own example. It says when the child is in the mother's stomach, the Malach teaches the Torah. And then he forgets. It makes him forget. What's the purpose of teaching? Because if he wouldn't teach him, a person could never understand Torah. Torah is Elokus. You can't understand it. So he gave it to him. He gave him the whole Torah. So now he has it in Mamayla. And then he forgets it. He's back to normal. But he still has that ability of understanding because of that boost that he got. The same thing here also. So now we understand how the Seder goes. The Seder is, by Matan Torah, there was a Bittul Welt. And who made Matan Torah? Moshe Rabbeinu. That gave the Keach we should work with the Welt in the form of Echot. And when this bitter of Echot, the way we'll bring the world, will be finished, will be complete, that's when Mashiach will come. This will explain what is the pshat is that Yovei Shili is Mashiach. Yovei Shili is B'gematria Mesha, I mean. Yovei Shili means Mashiach, but Shili is B'gematria Mesha. Yovei is Echot. And we're saying that Yovei Shili means Echot together with Mesha equals Mashiach will bring Mashiach. Now we'll understand why. Kinyone shel Moshe, the union of Moshe, which is Matan Torah. Who nesinas hakeach al aveda, that gives the keach and the aveda of birur bezichu cha'ilam beifin shel echad. We have to do throughout, from Matan Torah till Mashiach, we work on the eifin von echad. Because the Welt is a Welt, and we have to bring aveda in the helm of the Welt. So it's aveda of echad. Ches, Dalad, there's a Welt, Dalad cha'ilam, all the things. And we're working on bringing a lakus into Welt. But what gave us the keach? Matan Torah, which is Moshe. Vaveda zu, the keach shel Moshe, this aveda of echad, with the kayach that Moshe gave us by Matan Torah, Tovias Agula Asida Shu Yonu Shel Mashiach will bring the Gula Asida. So now we understand the pshat of the Friedrich Rebbe's word, Yovi Shilei, Yovi B'Gematria Echad, Shilei B'Gematria Moshe, Echad and Moshe will equals Mashiach, because the Moshe, which is union of Matan Torah, gave the boost to Echad, and that gives the kayach for our Aveda, and that will bring Mashiach. Now we see the hemshech to the Inyan, because the whole first half of the Sicha was to explain that when Mashiach will come, there'll be a great Ilui. An Ilui that is more than Matan Torah. Just like Matan Torah was a greater Maila than before Chetei Tzadas. There'll be a great Ilui. But how will it get Ilui? Because of the Yerida. What's the Yerida? The Yerida means the Welt is a Welt. And there's a Helm of Welt, there's Tumah in Welt. Our job is to change the Tumah. What gave us the Keach to change the Tumah? And the Mela, that Aveda will bring Mashiach, which will be higher than Matan Torah. That's the Keach of Matan Torah. It'll be higher than Matan Torah. Matan Torah, it was a Gilum Milmaila. This will be an Aveda within the Welt. So that Inyan will come B'Keich Shel Moshe, B'Keich Shel Matan Torah. Now we're going back to all the way to the beginning of the Sicha. Beginning of the Sicha, he said that there's a connection between Moshe and Mashiach. Now we see a real pnimazik connection between Moshe and Mashiach. The Gula, the pale is Mashiach, comes to Mashiach. Avazeo b'keich shel Moshe. As b'keich of Moshe, shemimenu v'yode nitnu ha'yichelus v'karev v'la'obi gilu Mashiach. Through him, we have the ability to bring Mashiach. That's the pshat, like you said in the beginning. Moshe Geil Rishon, Moshe Geil Achron. The Geil Achron is going to be Mashiach, but we still give the credit to Moshe because Moshe gave the kayach that we should be able to do things that will bring Mashiach. But on the other hand, we see they're not the same. They didn't do they're not the exact same thing. They're the same Nekudah. We could see the difference. Moshe, even though he was the redeemer of the Eden, the tachlis of going out, of being in Mitzrayim, the hardships in Mitzrayim, and going out of Mitzrayim is because of Matan Torah. To reach Matan Torah, like it says in the Pasuk, the Eibusha told Moshe Rabbeinu, when you take Eden out of Mitzrayim, they're going to worship me on this mountain, which is the mountain of Hasinai, where Moshe Rabbeinu saw the snare. So, what happened here? Moshe Rabbeinu was the one that took him out of Mitzrayim, which brought to Matan Torah. And the Tachlis of Yisrael from Matan Torah. The Inyan Shel Matan Torah, Shu, Inyan Shel Mashiach. And what's the Inyan of Matan Torah, which Inyan of Mashiach? Which Inyan of Moshe, I'm sorry, which Inyan of Moshe? Neisav al Inyan Ikri. Besides, we said before that Matan Torah, something special happened. David chose the Eden. But besides that, we said, Moshe Rabbeinu's Inyan of Matan Torah gave the Keach, as we said before, we should be able to now be Mevarer the Welt. We should work in the Yerida, in the Welt, to be Mevarer the Welt. And in Yonah Shel Mashiach, Gemara Birur Bazichu. V'ikir Aveidah Lachazeh. So by Moshe, it's a keach to Aveda, even though it's Matan Torah. But in Matan Torah is a keach to do Aveda. By Mashiach, it's not a keach to do Aveda. Mashiach, by Yonah Shel Mashiach is the Gemara. That's already the Aveda is finished. When you finish the Zichuch, Habirur Bazichuch. V'yikir Aveda Lachazeh. By what Moshe accomplished is that now we have a keach for Aveda that will come after Matan Torah. See, my Mashiach is not a keach to do something later. But Moshe, the Aliyah, the Kei that he gave is that now we're able to do Aveda. But by him, it's the Ikir is what's going to happen afterwards. Kasher Elam Kvar Yizbarer B'Yizdachat, that the Elam is going to become purified already. So now we see the connection of Moshe, and we see the whole Hemshech of the Sicha. Now the Rebbe says, Ha'odom Elam Kotten. You know it says in the Ovis of Nosen, I believe. Yeah. That the world is the person, every person is like a small world. What's it called? What's it in English? I forgot the word already. It's a small world. Just like we
microcosm.
A macrocosm or a microcosm?
Macro is
The
big,
would say
micro is small.
micro, small.
Macro with an A is big.
Big.
Micro
Oh,
with
it's a microcosm. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. So therefore, whatever we find in the world as a whole, we find in every person. So Valderach Seder Hanal Be'elam Kipshute, just like the Seder we said in the world as a whole, Kipshute, Keinu B'kol Echad Ve'echad, B'chol Yem V'yem, so too is when they every person every day. At what? Asher Yetzer Odom Lefole Lavidosi Adiorev. Every day you have to work. Working means working in Aveda. You have to bring a lakus into Welt. So you wake up in the morning and then you work. And then you say, I give today, I give over my neshama to you. Next day you start again. What I think, as I'm going to explain later, what the Rebbe is trying to compare to before is only one part. Before he said, what Matan Torah, what Moshe did is, he gave the Kayach Yochid, Bitlo Elamis, complete Bitl of Welt. That gave the Kayach that we should be able to work all these years and bring Gemara Lakus into the Welt as the Welt is. Then the third thing, after that comes Mashiach. I think what the Rebbe is bringing here, the example in every person, is only for the first two things. That you have to first have the boost of more Bitl Elamis, that there's no Welt, and then you're able to bring it. Even if there's a Welt, you bring a Lakus into Welt. Where do we see that? And I'll say later why I think that's what he's trying to say. Not the third thing. The day is supposed to start davening and learning. You don't start the day with doing other things. As it says, the Loshen, if you go the first thing in the morning, you go to Beis HaKnesses, to Shul to daven, Beis HaKnesses, Beis HaMedrash. From Shul to Yeshiva, from davening to learning. Then it says, then you go to do your business. So what happens when you go to Yeshiva, to daven and you go to learn? When you daven and you learn, you get the kayach for your work with the world for the full day. In the morning, you start whatever it takes, an hour or two. That gives the kayach for the next 22 hours. Why? Where do we see it? The nefesh elokis mishpaset is the gufa of the atfilah. When you daven, it says that brings the nefesh elokis into the body. Like it says, before you daven, the neshama b'api, it says the neshama is in your nose, whatever. And the davening brings the neshama throughout your whole, gives you the kayach of a lakus. And also, when you learn, that gives you the kayach to overcome the Yetzer Hara, to control the Yetzer Hara and every other part of the world that you have to control. Because Torah is the Tavon Yetzer Hara, Torah is the medicine against the Yetzer Hara. Torah tells you what to do. So you need Torah. So Torah gives you the kayach. So the morning you wake up, the first thing you're supposed to do, have the kayach. And this seems to be similar to Matan Torah. Matan Torah, there's bittul from Welt, no Welt. When you learn and when you daven, no Welt. You're involved in Ruchnis. It gives you the kayach that now you're able to get involved in Welt. Just like Matan Torah was bittul elamis and gave kayach to work with the Welt all these years. After Torah, Tefillah and Torah, then you're able to work in all the Weltische things. Do things that the world has to do. So the Rambam writes, it says a Chocham is supposed to be, you're supposed to recognize a Chocham not only when he says Chocham, you see, oh, this guy's a Chocham. Everything you do, eating and drinking. Now when he says Chocham, he means every Yid. In all these things, all the gash, he says 10 things, he says, and you're eating and you're sleeping and you're drinking, whatever you do, you should be able to tell Shehu HaChocham Eino Bereisha, he's the Chocham, which refers to every Yid, as it says in the Pasuk. The Chocham sees the future, which means the Chocham sees how you bring the Lakus into Welt. And then there is a Pasuk in Kehelos, Umolat Hu Es Hayir Ktana B'Chochmas. It says there's a Chocham, that he could save the city. What does that mean? It's a moshel, that a Yid has to be a Chocham, his Yetzer Tev, his Neshama, helps him save the world, which in his case is help him save in his Aveda in the world. So that's what he says. So just like the Rambam says, a Chocham has to be recognized in every Gashmasdike thing, you have to bring a Lakus in every Gashmasdike thing. But where do you get the Kayach to it? The Kayach from your Tefillah and Torah. That's like Matan Torah. And that's the Ches Dalet, you make that the Ches Dalet should be bottled Aleph, to the Aleph, which is the Eibush, the Aleph Shalom, Ayadei. He connects it all to Chochmah. It says Aleph is Chochmah, Aleph Chochmah will teach you Chochmah, it's a Lashon. So you have to bring the Aleph into the Welt. But that happens. So that's the Aveda, like our Aveda in Golis, to bring Mashiach, the Echod. And it all comes with the Kayach that you have in the beginning of the day, which is like Matan Torah. And then you would expect here that the Rebbe continues, and then At the end of the day, then it's like the end of your Aveda, which will bring Mashiach. That's not what he said. That's not what he says. You have to make a real cheshbon of what happened to you the whole day. So here again, mudge shuf tafkide. Here, this itself stresses the mission, the job of a yid lahamshech b'chinas ha'alef b'chol inyon ha'elam, to bring the aleph in yonim of the world. So if the Rebbe would mean that when you finish the day and you say b'yod afkiruchi, that's similar to Mashiach. By Mashiach, there's no more echad. By Mashiach, we're finished with echad. Echad will bring Mashiach. And here the Rebbe says, when it comes at night, you have to again think about the echad. You have to again make a cheshbon. Did I take bring the aleph into the Welt, into the Chezdal, in the Oneilom? That's why you say at the end of the day, b'yod kaf kedruchi, I'm giving my ruach, my neshama to you. Kail emes. You mentioned emes. What's emes? And the Rebbe says, in Yonei shel emes, al derech b'chinas echad anal. Emes and echad have the same concept. We said echad means ches and aleph, which is the Welt, amayla, mat, all the things, is brought to the aleph. And emes, we find something similar. Which it says, aposi ve'emes havaya lo'elom. That the Eibush has to be brought into the world. That's the emes. Like echad, which is the ches dalet, you bring the aleph into the ches dalet. Look at these Yerushalmi. It says in Yerushalmi, shechisom shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu emes. The seal of Hashem is emes. Why? B'shebegimel ha'esi aleph mem sof. The three letters aleph mem sof. Yinei ha'aleph b'sheina shebeis. The aleph is the first letter of the aleph base. Mem mem seison. Mem is the middle letter of the aleph base. Tov is achreina shebeis. Is the last one. So that is k'mishakos, like it says ani rishein. I'm first, I'm last, and there's nothing in between. So the word emes represents how everything up to the Tov, which means up to this world, is bemis connected to the Eibush. The Heinisher, b'kol inyoneh ha'ela, mina kotze la kotze, all the inyonim of the world, from one extreme to the other. Yumshech v'yizgale should be nimshech and revealed emes havai, which is aluf shel which is the Eibush. The Shemamit is mitzius and nimtzu kol ha-nimtzoim. For him came everything, and you will megala that in Welt. That's why it says in Sforim, if you take away the aleph from the word emes, nishar is left mace. Death, no chaim. Why? Because that's not a mitzias. Death is no mitzias. It becomes nothing. Because the way you have to realize the mitzias of the Welt is the aleph. And without the aleph, it's nothing. So here again we see that the Rebbe is referring to this again with the echod. So it can be that this is the third step, because at first you would think, what he's saying here, just like in the Welt, you have three steps. You have Matan Torah, you have the Aveda of Echad, and then the Mashiach. So and every person also, you have the Aveda of Matan Torah, which is davening and learning in the beginning. Then you have the Aveda of the whole day, which is the Echad. And then when you go at night, you finish going to sleep, you give your neshama back to the Eibush. I would think that's like time of Mashiach. That's not what the Rebbe says. When it comes to the night again, you have to think about the Echad. That's why I'm saying when the Rebbe is saying the Heroy in this last Sif, that he compares it, the parallel to the three inyonim in the whole Welt, in every person, I don't think he's going on the third. He's only bringing a parallel to the first two. That there has to be first is Tefillah and Torah, and Tefillah and Torah is like Matan Torah, and then happens the Aveda that you have throughout the whole day. Okay, Shem Shebechol is Matan Torah, Nitna Keach Al Birir V'Zichur Chaylam. Just like the whole world. By Matan Torah, what happened? There was a Keach to be mavara, to purify the world. So in everyone's Aveda, person causes the bitter and the zichuch in Welt in his share of that he is mechuyev. Through his Aveda, as we said in the Torah. So here's connecting again. If you do what it says in the Torah, which is Chinas Meisha is Torah, boy, when we come to the Gulak Lolis, which is Mashiach, which is Mashiach. So he plays the words here as the same thing before. But here we see the whole Hemshach of before. It's not a simple Sicha, and you have to work hard to see the connection and put in the little links in between. But you could see here the whole Hanem from the beginning and till the end. Now that Matan Torah is similar to Yochid, that's what we said. That gives the chaos. So first was Yochid. The Rebbe doesn't say the word Yochid here. But actually in the Fabrengim, and the Rebbe said the Sicha, he did use the word. That when he said this, he said that Matan Torah is like Yochid, the whole world was bottle. But that only lasted for a while, and that gave the Kayach. Later on, we should be Echad. But from here we see what our Aveda is supposed to be and what we're supposed to think about when we're going to sleep. Okay, good night. I want to mention again that tomorrow night we're having a Zoom Fabrengim for Chavdala Tevis. And the emes is we have the schus that Rav Wolfson, who's from the Choshevste Rabbonim in America, in the world maybe. I think he's the most respected Rav in New York. More than all the other, he's Mamish Emsa Edelid is going to join us also to Fabrengen. So it'll be through Zoom, but I think it'll be a different number that we had for the Shir. But you have to check it out. You'll see in the advertisement. So we're going to have a Fabrengen tomorrow. So please, everyone, join us in honor of Chavdalah Tevis. Okay, a gute Nacht. Kol Tuv.